One more time. I need that again.
Woo! Yeah! Let's do it! Do it!
Welcome to the Friendzy.
Hi, I'm Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
The Friendzy's mission is to celebrate friendships over 40.
We believe that women can thrive through authentic relationships, self-discovery, and spiritual exploration.
Our decades-long friendship continues to grow because we are willing to go there and share our truths through life's highs and lows.
And that's why the Friendzy is here to hold space for women over 40, because at this age, your story matters more than ever.
I'm Melissa, and my son is so used to us using Instacart for our groceries because I did it through the pandemic that now when I mention, hey, you want to go to the grocery store? He's like, why don't they just deliver it? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let's just have it delivered.
These are the things that our kids are going to come to expect, Melissa.
I have spoiled my son rotten. He just assumes food is delivered to his door.
It just shows up in the food fairy truck.
Exactly. Oh, let me open my front door. Look at there. There's my feast for the evening. Fantastic. Yes.
This is how life happens. That's so cute. I'm Jenn, and I use the parking brake every time I park my car.
I do too.
You do?
Yes.
Thank goodness, because my husband thinks I'm crazy, but I don't know why. I just feel more secure.
You can apply, tell your husband when you go out in the driveway, okay,
Yes.
one has a parking brake on, one does not, and push the car. And you can move one of the cars that doesn't have the parking brake on, and you can't move the car that has the parking brake on.
That's what I say. And it just makes me feel more secure. And he's like, you're only supposed to use that on a hill. And I'm like, I use it wherever I am because it just makes me feel like the car isn't going to jiggle.
No, I do. He's crazy. He's crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Sweet.
No, I do it too. Is it only supposed to be for the hill? Really? Because, well, and I got in the habit too because I had a hybrid car, and I don't know if you've ever had a hybrid.
I have.
But if you don't apply, like when it shuts that motor off, it can roll if you don't have the brake applied all the way.
Yes, maybe that's where we got started, and then the habit never ended.
Yeah, because I just made sure to keep that car secure. Anyway, so
is your parking brake the handle kind or the foot kind?
Mine's the handle, like
the handle where you
like
go,
the Hot Wheels car,
right?
Remember
So when
the
you
Hot Wheels car,
yes,
or not the Hot Wheels car. I'm sorry, the big wheel that you could spin had the little brake.
Yep.
Every time I pull it up, I think of big wheel.
Yeah. So you put your car in a park, and then your arm automatically goes to lift it up. It's like this automatic movement.
Yes, it doesn't feel right if it's not.
Same for me. I put it into park, but mine's the foot kind. So I put it into park and then slam on that foot thing, and then I feel like I can get out of the car. My husband thinks I'm nuts.
I don't. I'm with you, sister. If you're nuts, I'm in the nut house with you.
See, this is why the Friendzy is here. See, we can't have these men making us feel like we're crazy.
No, even if we are doing it wrong, you know what?
That's true.
I'd rather be wrong than park and brake right. All right. So coming up on today's episode, we are not talking about parking brakes. We're going to talk about middle age. Oh, the dreaded words, but a reality that we're hoping to reframe here on the Friendzy. How can we celebrate our lives during our 40s and 50s with excitement, laughter, and hope for a bright future?
And we are going to dig deep and really go there today about our own experiences so far with quote unquote middle age and see what struggles have come up, because we're thinking we're clearly not alone in this. And how are we dealing with them? We're going to offer each other some sincere and honest and hopefully humorous advice on our next steps, because Melissa and I aren't afraid to make fun of ourselves.
That's right.
Yes. And coming up, don't miss it, because Melissa Carter is going to answer the Friendzy 5.
I am, finally. And the Friendzy now has a private Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. Okay. It's a private group. It's a safe community to celebrate friendships over 40, make new friends too. So sign up for our email newsletter to get the invite. That's the only way you're going to get a link to that private group.
And have you subscribed to the Friendzy podcast yet? If not, please do, and leave us a review. It helps us out a lot. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to podcasts.
And if you enjoy this episode of the Friendzy, please share it with a friend. We would love for more women like you to find out about our show. So, Jenn, we are going to dive into the modern midlife crisis conversation here in a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
Do it. Do it, girl.
Kick it! Pajamas. Kick it.
Friendzy for 10% discount. Today. Use Friendzy.
We should be drunk on the show more often. I'm just kidding. We have not been drinking. Lifeline. That's how your veins should sound. Lifelinescreening.com. And if you use the code FRIENDS without the Y, they know we sent you.
Today. Sunday. Any day. Use Friends. That's from our radio days of listening to car commercials.
That's exactly right.
Stop.
Thank you to the car commercials for being our biggest sponsors, but my God.
Okay, so Melissa, let's talk midlife crisis. Is it a midlife crisis or a midlife opportunity? Okay.
Yes.
So
I like how you think, Jen Hobby.
Okay, so I think this is interesting. So we've both been experiencing some things I think that would be related to midlife. And so I went and put a Google on it. And how do you define a midlife crisis? Are you ready? I thought
Ready.
you might giggle over
Yes.
this definition. Okay.
Yes.
A midlife crisis is a transition of identity and self-confidence that can occur in middle-aged individuals, typically 45 to 65 years old. The phenomenon is described as a psychological crisis brought about by events that highlights a person's growing age, inevitable mortality, and possibly lack of accomplishments in life.
Oh, God.
I was like, ouch.
Ugh.
Okay. It says this may produce feelings of intense depression, remorse, anxiety, or the desire to achieve youthfulness or make drastic changes to their current lifestyle. Okay. And then
a thorough definition.
It goes on to say that studies on midlife crises show that they're actually less common than popularly believed.
Good.
So it goes into this study that they did over 75 years in 2012. They got the results from it, but basically not everybody has a midlife crisis. So that's good.
Good.
But if you do, they say that midlife crises last about 3 to 10 years long in men and for 2 to 5 years in women.
Good.
Okay.
I mean, shorter for, yeah, there's a glass half full.
So they say it could be caused by aging itself or in combination with other things like work or career, spousal relationships, maturing of children, aging or death of parents, and then physical changes associated with aging. And I think all of those things we've talked about at some point on the Friendzy: work or career, relationships, children, aging parents, or, parents who have passed, and physical changes. So I think we're right in there on some of the things we're talking about. But do those things have to cause a crisis?
Right.
Or is there a midlife crisis redefined? So I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yes, I think we can redefine it. We're going to do it here on the Friendzy, but I want to simplify everything you just said into two things, okay? I think the term midlife crisis came from us making fun of men leaving their wives for younger women, right? That's, to me, I remember that's where the term really came into the vernacular.
And buying race cars.
And buying race cars. So it's about men who can't handle their age. So we said he must be having a midlife crisis if he buys a sports car and gets a young wife. And you knew he trades in his old wife for a new wife, trades in his old car for a new car, right? And then the other thing is, I think that what for women, midlife crisis means I don't look the same in pictures that I did before.
Right.
Okay? I don't care what your body type is. You see changes that you can't as easily adjust that you could in your 20s and 30s. Okay.
Yeah, these wrinkles in my forehead.
You're starting to look older in your pictures, and you're starting to reflect your own parent in your pictures. That's what really bothers people, women. I don't know about guys, but women our age, you're starting to look like your mother or your grandmother, whoever you favor. And that's when it starts hitting you like, wait a second.
Hold on a
Wait a
minute.
second.
Where did these thighs come from?
What is happening to my body? So anyway, so that I think that's what
Yes.
triggers it. I mean, so
Yes.
again, I think the crisis, I do think we need to drop that word because it shouldn't be a crisis.
Yeah, it seems like something really drastic is going to happen.
Right.
But I think a midlife reexamination, I don't know, maybe today we'll come up with a new word.
Well, so here's my theory. Okay. And I've told Jen this off air, and here's my theory. So when just imagine, remember when you were a senior in high school or a senior in college, if you didn't go to college, you were, whenever you were leaving
Mhm.
home, and there was a sense of excitement. There was a sense of I get to choose whatever it is I want to do. There was a sense of my life is ahead of me. And that's the language people always said to you is your whole life is ahead of you, kid. Go out and grab it and, take life for what it is or whatever. And so you went, that's how you felt. It didn't matter what your accomplishments were in high school. It didn't matter who you dated. You didn't
Right.
think about those things. You thought about the future. You had no rear view mirror. It was just the future. The problem is that people didn't tell you when you were 18 and 22 that future that you're planning is probably only going to last about 20 years. And so, because the future for a lot of people had to do with job, but if it was your marriage or, your children, but 20 to 25 years is probably the lifespan of what you were doing if you were lucky. And so here I am, 22-year-old Melissa, so excited. And then I get my career in broadcasting, and then I am done with it in my 40s. And so that's the time where I think, to your point, a lot of people start reflecting on, wait a second, what do I do now? And instead of taking the opportunity to be 22 again and think, okay, well, that time period is expired. Now it's time for something new. Now I get to be excited again. Now I get to choose what I want to do. This time you have more money than you did when you were 18 and 22 years old. So you really can
Truth.
have the power because you have a network and you have a wealth that you didn't have before. You can really do anything you want to do. And you still have 20 or 30 years left in the future to be able to accomplish these things. But somehow we don't see that as a second, I don't know, 2.0 or a second generation of your career or whatever it is. Even marriage. Some marriages end in your 40s and you think, oh, what could have been or what should have been and all this. No, guess what? You got 20, 30 years left to go find somebody else if that's what you want to do. So I just really think that the problem is we thought that everything we planned for at 22 was going to last the rest of our lives.
Mhm.
And so it goes to that list you gave. You thought your parents would always be in your life. No, they pass away. You thought your children would always be in your life if you started having them. No, they leave. They go and have their own lives. You thought your marriage would last. No, sometimes they don't. You thought your job would last. No, it doesn't. So the thing is, nobody explained to you that it's okay for things to end. It's okay because in this
Mhm.
life everything ends. Everything. That's the definition of being a human being in my wisdom as I've gotten older. Being a human means everything ends, but that's okay because that gives you the motivation to really appreciate it while it's here. And so it's okay for things to have gone away. Now it's time to rebuild something else, to do something else with your life. And it should be exciting. But for a lot of people, it goes back to that reflection of, why did it end? I've mourned the loss. Now I have to hang on to something that doesn't exist anymore. And that's a waste of life, in my point
Yeah.
of view.
Well, and two things. It's okay to mourn things that leave, but don't stay there.
Right.
Right? Move through that feeling. Like it's okay to mourn your parents. It's okay
Mhm.
to mourn that your kids are off to college or off to start their own lives or their own families. It's okay to mourn a job that's gone away or anything in your life, a marriage, anything that's gone away. Just don't live in it.
You're right.
Right. Just like keep trying to keep moving through it and learn from it and stay positive on the other side of it. So that's one thought I had. And then we live longer,
Yeah,
right? Like midlife crisis. Now, if we're defining it as 45 to 65, well, shoot, people live well into their 90s.
yes,
So we're living a lot longer. 65 as the age for retirement is arbitrarily chosen because people used to die all the time at 75.
that's
Like
correct.
that was your last 10 years of life. But
Right.
guess what? There's a lot more now. We take better care of ourselves. We eat, as long as we're exercising and eating healthy and regularly getting our doctor checkups, our life expectancy is a lot longer than it used to be. So
Absolutely.
65 is sort of this arbitrary time of retirement, which really isn't real
I don't
life
plan
anymore.
I don't plan on retiring at 65. I don't,
No, I don't
and
want to. I don't think right now. I mean, things could change, by that time, but I don't think so either. I
yeah.
want to feel still excited and motivated about whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm earning a paycheck from it or not. I still want to wake up with purpose every day. And I think work gives people a lot of purpose.
Yeah, whatever it is that gives you purpose is what you should do. I think
Yeah.
that's why I think you should be excited. But so we've covered the fact that you have a chance to choose something new. You have a chance to get out there and do whatever it is you want to do. You do. I mean, there are people that are probably arguing with us right now, but no, Melissa, you
Mhm.
don't understand. But your attitude towards life, your vibe attracts your tribe. Okay, that should be a mantra, but it's not. I saw it on a candy wrapper. You're honestly, I saw it on a chocolate
That
candy
should be
wrapper.
today's mirror mantra.
I do have another one, but your vibe
Okay.
attracts your tribe. So that your vibe in life is what you get. So if you're a naysayer, that's exactly what's going to happen. If you're drama, you're going to get drama. If you want peace and be a peaceful person, you're getting extra mirror mantra today. But it's just you can't. That's the other thing too is midlife does not give you the excuse to use your wisdom to be a pessimist. I'm just going to say
Mm.
it flat out.
Ooh, that's good. Yes, you're right.
Your wisdom does not allow you to be a pessimist because that's not what wisdom is supposed to be about. My son, bless his heart, is a perfectionist, and I am trying to plant the seeds that perfection is not the way to go. Because the thing is, he is a perfectionist. You're always focusing on what's not happening, what's not making it perfect, what's the problem. And I'm telling him, honey, you'll be a lot more happy in life if you focus on what went right and build on what was right and quit focusing on what went wrong. And that's what a lot of people do, especially if you don't have a purpose, like Jen said. If you sit around, if your children are gone to college or whatever, you did your job. You should be congratulate yourself. You should reward yourself. But instead, you sit around and you're sad about it. The whole point of you being a parent was to get them out in the world. That's the purpose. And so, if you don't find another purpose after they're gone, if they were your purpose, then you're going to sit around. And when you sit around, you become a pessimist. I mean, you can't sit around and do nothing and expect to be happy. And that's the
And I
thing.
think
Yeah.
the transition for your kids when they do grow up is to become their friend,
Hmm.
because you should raise them, in my opinion, as a parent and teach all those things. And then when that's done, then you get to be their friend. And if you stay in that role of continually parenting them as adults, they will start to push you away.
Absolutely.
I have witnessed that with friends in my
Absolutely.
life, other people in my life who have parents who still try to parent them when they are parents themselves. And it's like, let it go. You did your job. You got to make that transition to become friends. All right, Melissa, I've got a question for you. Let's go through some of these different areas
Okay.
of a typical midlife crisis, but we're going to call a midlife opportunity. And
Yeah.
I want to know if you've had in these 5 areas an experience you'd want to highlight and talk about
Okay.
that's happened to you personally during this time. Work or career,
Yeah.
relationships.
Mhm.
We both have young children, so the children thing doesn't count for us yet.
Right,
we'll
right.
be we'll be there in a few more
Yes.
years.
Easy for
Um,
you to say, Jenna Melissa. Your children are
age-
still in elementary
I
school.
know, I know. Aging or death of parents, and then or physical changes associated with age. Which one of those 5 would you want to
God,
highlight?
I've had all of them, but
All of them.
except for the children part, but one I have not talked about is work.
Okay,
Something I was thinking about this morning.
let's
One
talk about it.
one of the challenges with the work is I admittedly have been spoiled. And I say spoiled, I've earned my success. I am proud of my accomplishments and my talent, but I have been spoiled by the fact that when I was younger, those accomplishments and talents attracted people and attracted opportunities. And since the pandemic, so I chose to work from home, and that decision, I think contributed to the fact that I was laid off from the company that I was working for. And since I took that opportunity to create my own LLC and to do media services for people where I am the boss. So I am the one in charge of everything that's going on.
Which is awesome. Hashtag boss lady.
That's right. So, and it's the first time in my life I've ever done that, and I'm like, "Man, if I had done that in my 30s, I
Right,
be
right.
living a different lifestyle right now." But, so I do that. I do that because, for 2 reasons. One, because of my son, and I wanted to give him the opportunities that my mother gave me, which is, being accessible. So that if he throws up at school, that he has somebody that is immediately gonna be able to be there. Not that Katie wouldn't, but, Katie's schedule is, tighter than mine, and, she is her own boss as well. But we just wanted him to be able to not feel like he can't get to his parents if he needs to. So that's
Mhm.
one of the things my mother gave to me because my father traveled a lot, and so, I wanted to give it that to him, but also because of my age. So going, to the point, I have tried to, um, to build upon this freelance company, and I have noticed that despite my talent and despite my wisdom and despite my experience, I have really seen a turn away from most people because of my age. And I think it's also because of my gender. I think a middle aged woman is not attractive for people to work with, especially in any kind of technological background. So,
Interesting.
I have noticed that, I
Hmm.
mean, there's been gaming companies that I have tried to work with. There has been, some writing assignments, but have been for pop culture assignments, have been for, again, more youthful things like, comic books or anime. Like, I have really tried to pursue editing and writing jobs. And I notice that I am completely ignored. Even if I get the first conversation, I get ghosted right after that. And I have actually taken off the graduation year off my resume of when I graduated at UT. And so
Interesting.
and so
Really?
so I am here to warn women that,
Mhm.
especially women, I don't know if it happens to men too, but I doubt it happens to men as much as it happens to women,
Or
that
as early.
I think that you really need to prepare yourself for the time in your life where your age is going to be in the workforce a hit against you. Because I mean, I've even reached out to people who I know, but I've noticed that since I'm not on morning radio and I'm in my 50s, that I have been ghosted and it has been silent unlike it's ever been in my life. So I will say the biggest impact, like, yes, my body, and yes, I did lose both my parents are gone, so I'm officially an orphan. I mean, like, that's something you do, but that's part of life. The
Mhm.
part of life, and I don't look as good in pictures. Like, I'm always disappointed when, there's pictures taken. I'm like, no, that's not how I look. But yes, it is. But yes, the work part is the one that's more stunning to me than anything else because it's like, it doesn't matter what you've been able to do. I have had the hardest time trying to build an empire, and it's much harder now to do than it used to be.
Okay, so question for you, because we talk about, stop lying about your age on the
Yeah,
Friendzy all the time,
right.
right? We talk about claiming our age, reclaiming it,
Yeah.
redefining it.
Right.
How do we redefine that for work or career and where we don't feel like we have to hide it or take it off our resume? Because
Mhm.
to me, especially for women at this point, you've got so much more experience. You know how to get the job done. You're efficient because you have other things going on in your life. So to me, women that have had careers up until this point are just highly productive
Yeah.
worker bees. You know how to do it better. So how do we go forward proving to employers or contractors or clients that at this age we're better than ever?
Well, I think we don't give up. I mean, that's one of the things. The difference
Mhm.
between what I'm going through and what another woman might go through is the fact that it's a challenge, like
Mhm.
I will not be ignored. No, but it's
Yeah, that's good.
because I think that men understand playing the odds better because they learned that in dating, right? The more women you
Mhm.
ask out, the more that's going to say yes. So just play the odds. Well, that's what I'm doing is I just play that somebody, something's going to come up, something's going to happen. I don't lose hope that something is still going the right place and the right people we'll connect and things will open up in the future. But it is truly a test of your stamina the older you get, to where you don't start feeling bad about yourself. So I think that women need to be managers, because most of the people that I'm asking these jobs from are men. And especially in my field, it's younger men. And we hear that all the time. I mean, that's not a new thing. That, new
Mhm.
managers come in, new young people, and they don't want to hire older people. But I think that we have to change the conversation about age, is what we're doing. I think just the culture that age should not be a bad thing. That a 50 something year old woman, when they see on paper that I'm 50 something years old, without seeing me first, because on a piece of paper, they can't see me. And so I think that they have this idea in their mind of what a 50-year-old woman looks like or acts like a grandmother, which, even though she's a grandmother, that's fine. But it's just this mother, like, that some men can't get out of their minds that a woman is an employee or a collaborator or a partner. They think of her as either a mother or someone to have sex with. And I think that sometimes the 50-something-year-old women, they think are not anybody to have sex with, then they don't want them around the office. And so it's just, I think women need to be managers. I think women need to stop lying about their age and being afraid of this, because we collectively can change this conversation and pressure
Mhm.
people, instead of me and somebody else just one at a time, being separated and conquered because we're doing it by ourselves. I don't know if that made any sense, but I think we changed the culture by telling our stories.
I agree, and I think that we have to defy that ageism that is in the workplace just by you, like what you said, not giving up.
Don't give up. Don't give
And I
up. Don't give up on
wonder,
yourself.
I don't know the answer to this, but I wonder if we brought up that conversation in the midst of career conversations, if it would be addressed or ignored. You know, like if you had an interview, could you bring up age as a question, or could you bring it up as an asset?
I mean, if I got the interview, yes. That's the
Mhm.
thing, is I don't even get that long conversation. I I did, but I did. I had one interview, and it was a fun freelance job. So again, all I'm searching for is more just to supplement the freelance company. And so
Mhm.
it's just to pad different things. So it's not something that would be a huge investment for the company to add me on, because we're just partners in a freelance contract. And there was one that, I mean, we had a great time talking with each other. And it was something that was more of a humorous kind of thing that I would be doing. And then I didn't hear from them again. And I just, and even in the interview, I talked about my experience. I talked about the companies I worked for. I talked about the influence I had. But again, I think the guy couldn't get past. I mean, I legitimately maybe didn't qualify for it, but just the fact that I don't even get a response. That's the thing, is I just think that we've lost um courtesy.
Mhm.
Just say,
Yeah.
we went a different direction. Just reach out to me. But the fact that it is truly just dismissive, it shows you there's even more of a visceral reaction to, we don't want to hire her. And so I think that's
The
the and that
ghosting is the rude part,
and
right?
I
Where
and
you're
I've
like, we
yes,
don't even, like, professionally follow up anymore. We just
we just
ghost
ghost.
people personally and professionally.
It's
That's
it's
sad.
it's unprofessional, and also I wonder if they do that to everybody, and that is a stark difference than the first 25 years of my career. Like, even if somebody didn't wanna work with me or I wasn't the right fit, there was still an enthusiastic, "Hey, let's not lose touch, maybe something in the future, let's make sure this connection stays, because I find you valuable enough to be in my network," right?
Mhm.
I'm not even getting a hint of that now. And again, I literally in the past year have approached, I mean, dozens of people, and it's the same response. And so I can't help but think the only difference is
Right.
is my age. Now, I'm not on the air anymore either, because for a lot of people, I have no if I'm not on the radio, then, I mean, I'm not important. But that's a few, that's not everybody. I think everybody is having a problem with the 50-something-year-old woman trying to work with them.
Does it make you self-reflect to do any sort of shift, like career shift completely?
Absolutely. Yes, I have
Okay.
considered. Yes. So one of the things that I've thought, because again, you don't give up on yourself, and I'm a true believer that not only does your vibe attract your tribe, but also you got to read the signs. Like if I'm driving down a road I'm not familiar with, like life, I've got to read the road signs to see where I'm going. And if it's constantly like nope, 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 then at some point I'm going to say, okay, well then what do I need to be doing?
Let's turn down a different street
Turn
where
down a
there's a
different
lot
street.
more yes signs. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that is part of the inner conversation I'm having with myself is, okay, well, what is it? Let's just stop the ball. Listen, the ball's not rolling anymore. Let's just stop it and let's see what is your spirit calling you to do. And that's a question I have not answered yet. And so once that because I'm truly believe that something big is going to happen, but I don't know what that path is going to be, because I think that by doing what I've always done, it's not working anymore. And so the same with the midlife crisis, like doing what you've done is not working anymore in any of these facets. So you've got to
Right.
redefine yourself. And sometimes it's hard. And it's not hard because I'm willing to do it. The problem is I'm so used to doing the same, what I've been doing for 25, 30 years, that it's
The
like, oh, I get
the
to choose. I get
right. The change is
what do I
scary.
want? Yeah. It's like, what do I
Change
want?
is yeah, it's like, first of all, yeah, how do you even define what you want, which direction to go? And Melissa, you're so creative and you have so many different potential avenues you could go down, but it's like, do you want that creativity to be your job? Or is that the fun side of you? Do you
Right.
go down this road? Does your career have to support you and fill you up and make you feel good? Or does it just need to be a paycheck? There's a lot of different conversations, and those answers aren't the same for everybody.
Exactly.
It's not a cookie cutter approach for each and every person.
And that's the other thing too, and we're going to get to you, Jen, because I want to know which one on that list that you've struggled with. But the final thought is, that's the other thing about being a woman at this age who, you're frustrated by this age for whatever reason, is the fact that it is not cookie cutter. It is personalized to you, and you have permission to
Mhm.
look at yourself and customize your life to suit your needs. And it's hard for a lot of women who've surrounded themselves with people who they've been a doormat for, basically. And I'm saying that from experience, the fact that I have exuded energy for people to make their lives easier. And it's not seen as that. It's just seen as, oh, you're just it's expected. Then I end up resentful because you
It's
don't appreciate
thankless.
it's a thankless job. But I
Yeah.
put myself in that situation. I train those people to look at me that way.
Hmm.
Right. And so I think that I also have to reflect on the people in my life and how much energy I spend on those people. Because the thing is, I, number one, want to have self respect, exaggerated in myself, but I also want my son to respect me, because if the last thing I want to do is teach him that women are doormats. And
Mhm.
even though he gets groceries delivered to him without having to go to the grocery store, but other than that, I'm trying, at some point he's going to respect me. But anyway, but now, Jen, for you in your 40s on that list, which one do you find the biggest struggle, or one you want to talk about?
Well, there's a couple, and I think let's see. I wanted to choose something different from you because I thought that'd be more interesting to talk about, but truly, I think the biggest struggle for me is career,
His career.
because yeah, I'm still working in terrestrial radio, which it's been changing. The whole media landscape of everything changes a lot. And it's like, how do you adapt and change with it? The Friendzy podcast and birthing this with you is part of that. So I get excited about what is next, but I don't know what is next. And I think the biggest shift for me came in not defining success by the same measurements as I once did. So to me, my a lot of my life has been about achievement and, climbing some sort of career ladder, right? It's just like
Mhm.
always evolving and going and growing and always evolving and growing and going. And I've reached this stage of my career where I don't know where to grow next.
Right.
And I know that that growth is going to be necessary for me to still enjoy it, but it feels like it's plateaued. And so that's why I get super excited each week when we get to record new episodes for the
Right?
Friendzy, because I'm like, this is new.
Yeah.
Podcasting is new. We're still learning this whole world. And,
It's
behind the
fun.
scenes,
Well, it's fun to
yes, it's a
learn. That's right.
challenge, right? It's
Yep.
a new challenge, and new opportunities are coming up, and things are coming our way, or we're meeting and interviewing some of the coolest, most interesting people. And that fills my career bucket more than what has in the past. And so
Mhm.
I think for me, it's really trying to figure out, where does my career path go next? Because it is a big part of how I define myself. Um, and I've never taken a break for children. And so I think that that's just part of who I am. But then I've also often thought, like, what if I could take a step back and a break and be able to focus on my kids more? That would be really exciting and cool too. But I don't know how. I don't
Well
know how to do that.
well, is it when it's just like you don't know? And the other thing is, this may affect other people's careers the same as ours because life has changed and post-pandemic life has changed, but
Yeah.
it's also difficult for us too because our what we were successful in is no longer as successful as it used to be,
Right,
right?
the entire industry has changed,
It's
that's true, and so
the
many industries have changed.
But that adds to the struggle of the I don't know is like, for instance, you talk about my being artistic. So when I was younger, one of the things I wanted to do while we were doing morning radio is I thought it would be really cool to do a comic strip. Now, back in the day, comic strips were a big thing. They were in all newspapers, and there was a structure on how to submit, and there was a structure on how to get there, and the politics and everything. But by the time I was ready and thinking about doing it, that industry was dwindling and ready. So I think the
Mhm.
interesting thing is I also have to read the signs because I can't hang on to what because I work better in a structure. I need to know the steps in order to achieve. And the
Mhm.
problem with redefining your career, which is okay because it's an opportunity, not a problem, is I'm having to learn that there's no structure or I have to make the structure. And I don't know how to do that either, but it is something again, this is where the crossroad is in midlife. It's not a crisis, it's a
Right.
decision. It's a fork in the road. I said crossroads and I gave a fork in the road on YouTube. It's a fork in the road. You get to choose whether you're going to sit and whine or you're going to turn, pivot and create a brand new 20, 30 years of
I
life.
agree, because I feel like anybody who sits stagnant in something that they're not excited about, that they're not happy about, there's gonna be something. It's like water, right? If you just leave water in a dish and it doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't move, it just gets, like, moldy and gross, and bacteria grows
In
on it,
in
and it just
nature,
gets toxic, right?
in
Same
nature
thing.
it's in nature, stagnant water is swamp land,
Yeah.
and moving water is the ocean. Either you be the swamp or you be the ocean.
Or the river, or
Right,
if water is moving. And that's how I feel like in career life, if you're moving in one direction or another, it's good, because if things are flowing, energy is flowing. When you feel stagnant, it's not a great place to be. So
right.
I'd like to get unstagnatized. Is
Well,
that a word? I
yeah,
don't
well, I have a friend I have a
know.
friend I have a friend who recently went to the doctor. She's older than me, recently went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're crossing the border of diabetes, and it can be easily reversible if my friend was physically active. And so she knows she needs to be physically active. And I'm like, but the problem is you can't just, decide to walk a 5K. You just go to the mailbox and come back. And she's like, but she works from home. She's like, but that means I got to change my clothes. I'm like, I know. But the thing
Yes.
is, it's the same with this. Like if you're stagnant, you've got to, you got to put yourself in motion. Okay. And that's the hardest thing. Even in physics, they teach you to take something from being still to being in motion is the hardest transition. But once you're in
Yes.
motion, you don't stop. And so get your clothes on and go walk to the mailbox and back. That's it. And then the next day, maybe go a little further. But you got to start slow and give yourself credit for doing it. That's the thing is instead of, I don't know why. When we were 22 years old again, did you think you're going to be the CEO tomorrow? No, you knew you had to work
Right.
your way up. So why is it now that we have to think, "Oh, well, I gotta be the CEO tomorrow." No, it's the same thing. You gotta build up, and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be
Right.
fun.
And here's the other thing that comes up for me is like, are you brave enough? This is the question for myself and for anyone listening. Are you brave enough to make those changes? Are you brave enough to say, this is what really lights me up now? And I know it's not what I did 20 years ago. Am I brave enough or am I capable enough to make that change? And some people can say yes and some people can't. And you may have, like I can't up and just blow it all up today because I got responsibilities, right? I got a mortgage payment, I got 2 kids to feed, I got the babies need new shoes, right?
That's what
You
babies
know
need shoes,
you
yeah.
know you know, you can't tomorrow just quit everything, Melissa, and start from scratch. You're gonna have to do a gradual because you've got your son to take care of. You have
Right.
another human being that is relying on you. And so there are some but
But you
if
can't talk yourself out of
you
it
can't
because those
talk
are
yourself out of it, right? There are
yes.
incremental changes that you can make so that
You've got to
eventually it's a
start.
huge shift. But
Yes.
and I think that's where the crisis thing, that term comes up again, because if you really were in this transition of identity and you wanted to say, you know what? Like mine would be, here's the perfect example. Mine would be like, I want to go to culinary school. What if I just blew it all up and went to culinary school? Because I think that would be so cool to cook. Now, I don't necessarily want to be a chef in a restaurant, but I just would love to learn all of that. So I'm like, okay, could I do it in midlife? Is it something that I'll do after my kids are gone and I don't have the responsibility of, making sure to pay for them? Or could
Here's
I
but here's the
just,
thing. Here's the
right? If
thing,
I was
though.
in midlife crisis, I would just go, I'm going to quit and just do that now.
But but there are some that feel that when so you can't stay safe either if you're
Right.
gonna be brave, and
It's
so
scary.
there's some people who believe that if you don't blow it up now, again, I'm not suggesting now I was put in a position because I was laid off that I was put into a panic position there for a few months, but I never lost my cool. Because I got you know what? I focused on what was happening that was right, and that means I was
Mhm.
home with my son. That means I got to do remote school with him. That means, you know what? If we have to pack up the house and I gotta file bankruptcy, my son is still alive and he's still with me and it's all good. Like there are things that are always happening that are right. But guess what didn't happen? I didn't file for bankruptcy. It got me motivated to find something. So the other thing is too, when you take a risk and you blow it up a little bit, like you can't stay safe because you won't
Right.
be motivated to be successful at it. So the thing is,
Exactly.
for some people,
Yes.
it may be you quit and you start something fresh. It
Totally new
totally
career.
new.
Right. And then I also think about like just the culinary school or going to become a chef of some sort as an example. It's like, but what if I don't like that? Like, what if I just like cooking at home now and it would be a terrible career, right?
Let me ask you a
And,
question.
you know,
At 22 years old, if you'd gone to culinary school and didn't like it, what would you have done? Something
something
else.
else. Yeah.
That's your answer. If you don't like
Right.
it, you just
That's
doing something
true.
else. I mean,
That's
that
true,
I
and I
think
and
I yeah.
like, I also feel strongly about childhood cancer research, and I'm now an advocate. I got if you watch
Yes,
this on YouTube, I've got my little, yellow
yellow ribbon.
ribbon, because of our daughter Reese being a cancer survivor and everything we went through and how much that space needs attention. I've thought, what if I just quit it all and went and devoted my life to that area? So there's a lot of different directions to go that would be like totally opposite of what I've done and working in radio and television and broadcasting. That could go do something else. But I think that with responsibility and fear, it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in that air. It keeps me anyway, so far in that same place of where I go, I don't know if I'm ready yet.
Well,
I don't know if I'm brave enough, but I feel like I'm like building up that courage.
I think that we'll have to come up with a name. Maybe we get some suggestions from listeners, but I think that to finish up this conversation is to say, sit down and have a conversation with your 22-year-old self. Just imagine sitting down with your
Good.
22-year-old self because your 22-year-old self is going to ask questions about its future. And I think that you need to also talk to your 22-year-old self and absorb that energy, that excitement, that you were afraid, you were frustrated by money. All these things were happening at 22 because we look back with rose-colored glasses. I was a
Sure.
wreck at 22 years old. And I'm so much cooler now. And
Yeah.
so my 22-year-old self would look at me and think, thank God, thank God. Like, you mean you have a son? You mean you're out? You mean that the world accepted you for who you were? I mean, there's so many great things that you could tell your 22-year-old self, but but ask your 22-year-old self, what is it that excites you? It's freedom. It's the possibilities. It's the fact that getting away from my parents. It's, just have that conversation and don't forget where you came from, but also don't forget where you're going. And that's the thing. You are going somewhere. You're not dead yet. So quit acting like you are.
Mhm.
And so what? You don't look the same in pictures. That's that irritates the hell out of me. Irritates that because I'm like, I don't look like that. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Well, is there a friend of yours that would enjoy this episode? Please share this with her on Apple Podcasts. Look for those 3 dots at the top right corner. You click on those, and then there's a drop down menu. Select share episode, and then you can text it to a friend from right there. Okay. Melissa Carter,
Yes.
are you ready to be in the hot seat?
I am ready. I'm
Now,
nervous.
this is
No, I'm
kind of
fine.
not fair because you already know the questions coming at you, but
I did not prepare. I didn't
the
prepare.
Frenzy 5.
I
You
did
didn't
not
prepare?
prepare.
Really?
No,
Oh, good for you.
yeah.
Okay. Number 1, Melissa Carter, where is
Yes.
your cozy, happy place?
I think at the beach. I love the sound of the ocean. I just really, when I was 7 years old, when I was my son's age, my parents, we went to Miami for a business trip. And we went to the hotel and we weren't checking in yet. And so oddly enough, I asked my parents, can I go outside? And I was by myself. Like, again, 70s kids, they just
Yeah.
sent out. So I'm in Miami by myself. But anyway, I walked outside the hotel to the beach and I remember the first thought I had was, this is what heaven must look like. Just loved the
Oh,
beach.
wow.
So
Beautiful.
you talk in what part of my future has to be living at the beach. I want to end my life at the beach, like, and transition there. But yes, the beach. I just love the ocean.
Awesome. Okay. Number 2, what's your favorite framed thing in your home?
I have a Tennessee hat, a UT hat, signed by a bunch of UT players. And the reason it's my favorite thing is because we were working in morning radio and I had my kidney transplant. I was out of work for a few months, thus Jen Hobby. That's how we met because she filled in
I
for me.
filled in for Melissa. And then
And
I just never left. I was like that growth on your foot.
I couldn't get her away.
Shake me.
There she still is. No, but and so one of the things I missed was the Peach Bowl, which and it happens in Atlanta. UT comes. So the very next year, I decided I'm going to volunteer with CHOA, Children's Health Care of Atlanta, where when the Peach Bowl happens, football players come to the hospital and they go around the ward and they give kids signed things from the team. Tennessee happened to come back. I was like, absolutely. I held the Sharpies, I held the hats. I was walking around the halls. Didn't think twice about it. I remember there were some rooms where the kids weren't there because they were being tested for something. And so we would leave the hat. Okay, no big deal. And then I didn't think about it. Then I got an email. This would make me cry. I got an email from one of the kids' brothers who said that his sister had passed away from cancer. And that one of the last things that she wanted was for me to have that hat because she knew I was a Tennessee fan and she was a listener. And so I told him, I said, well, I gave her that hat. So like, she must have not been there. And then she had no idea that I had been in the hospital to give those hats away. She just knew. And I thought a dying teenager thought of me and wanted to give me something. So I have that email and that hat framed in my house.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Oh, I love that. Okay. Number 3, what's your most memorable birthday?
My 50th, because that's when the shit hit the fan. And not because I turned 50, but I went to Key West for my 50th birthday. And the day we got back from Key West was when shutdown started. Friday, March 13th.
COVID was rolling in, right?
COVID
It's your
was
birthday.
rolling in. I can't believe I took that trip, but my birthday's on March 11th. We got back on March 13th. I went to pick up my son from the airport. When I got to the airport, went to pick up my son, and I got home, and I was home for a year and a half after that. So my 50th was the most memorable birthday because we got to the airport in Key West and everybody was in masks. And we said to ourselves, what are we going home to? And we learned pretty quickly.
There it was. I'm so glad you got away. Number 4, what's a daily routine or ritual you stick to?
I two things. I walk, going back to just staying active, staying because I'm not athletic. I don't find peace in a gym. I can't. I have to talk myself into doing anything physical, because my parents were, but they weren't by the time I came along. So I do really think that parents, you need to understand that you're an influence on your children's physical activity. And we were such couch potatoes that it's hard for me. So my son is active all the time. Because I don't want him to be like me like that. So anyway, I walk and I also do Reiki because I'm a Reiki master. And so I do Reiki as well.
Okay, I know we're not supposed to ask follow-up questions, but what is Reiki?
Reiki is energy work. And so my hip dippy self, one of the things I have done for myself as I've been older is to take the courses in order to become a Reiki master. I only do it on myself. I don't use it for business purpose. I don't do Reiki on other people. I did it just to heal myself,
But
but
like
it's
what
energy
is
work.
it? Like what do? You tap on yourself or
It's not
what is
tap.
it?
It's just more like it's like energy that kind of comes from your hands. You don't touch, but it's like it kind of permeates from your body to someone else's body, and you tap into that internal energy that kind of keeps you young and healthy.
Okay, when we have our retreat, you got to teach some
I'll
Reiki.
teach them Reiki. All right, I'll explain
Okay.
Reiki.
Okay. When
Yes,
we eventually can all be in person,
yes, we'll
then
do
the
some Reiki
Frenzy retreat
sessions.
is going to have a Reiki session because I need to figure out what in the world this is. Okay.
Okay,
I'm going to start Googling Reiki. How do you even spell it? I don't know.
it's yes, Reiki. It's a
Okay. Well, there you go.
Japanese, I mean, because
Neat.
It's Eastern medicine, so it's Eastern
Neat.
medicine.
Okay. All right. And finally, number 5 of the Frenzy 5. What fashion trend did you jump on?
Honey prep, 80s, the preppy movement. I don't know if you're old enough to remember,
Oh, yeah.
but
Like the pop collar?
yes, in the 80s, there was the Preppy Handbook, and that I mean,
Really?
if you
I didn't
Google
know
the
that.
original Preppy Handbook, those are going for $600, like $1,000, like that was the it thing. And so it's the pink and the green. It's the let's see what other color, navy and pink. It was I mean, it was the plaid skirts, long skirts. It was the sweaters. It was the embroidery. It was the I mean the polo shirts. It was the Izod. It was I had what called docksiders. I don't, they call them boat shoes now. They were called
Yeah.
docksiders back in the day. I had penny loafers. I mean, I'm telling you,
I cannot picture it. I really
honey,
cannot.
I know because here's the thing. Getting into radio, you're not expected to dress up. So I dressed down so much of my career. But I'm telling you, honey, in high school, I was fashionista. It is amazing.
It's
I
so
had
cute.
different colored pants. I mean, it was I mean, it was yes, I had the eyes I would paint eyes on barrettes. We had the barrettes.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
I had alligator earrings. I mean, preppy, total and I noticed that we're kinda skipping over that. I noticed that we're kinda going into 90s styles, and it's like, "Wait a second, I've been
Wait, we
waiting for
missed
prep to
that
come." Where's the
preppy
pink and
thing.
green? Yes, I want my the
Oh my
jackets with the
gosh.
patches. Honey, yes. But I
So
did.
good.
I was all about it. Oh, green and yellow. It was a green and yellow combination. I mean, I had the turtlenecks and the sweaters and yes. At 16, honey, I had style. I haven't had it the rest of my life, but at 16, I had style.
That is awesome. Did not think you were going to say that.
All right, so here is a reminder to share your story. I mean, I still tell stories on this show that Jen Hobby, who I've been friends with for 20 years, does
Yes.
not know, which is hilarious. I have to send you pictures.
I need
Oh,
the preppy pictures for
oh
sure.
my gosh. So you need to open up and share your story because you need to share it with people you trust, obviously, so that you can be vulnerable because that's the key to good storytelling. But your story matters. You matter. So don't forget that.
And Melissa has got this week's mirror mantra.
All right. So I'm going to keep this brief, but here is your mirror mantra for this week. I will apologize to my body
Oh,
because think about all the things that you have said negative to your body. Okay,
true.
here we are at our age. We're probably doing it more now than we have before, or at least at the same rate. We're just complaining about different things. But as a woman, probably since you were a teenager, up into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and your 70s, you have criticized your body. And think about If anybody talked to you the way you talk to yourself, you would not be their friend. If anybody talked to your child the way that you talk to yourself, you would do everything you can to complain to their parents, to complain to that kid, to the school, to make sure that stopped. But somehow you don't protect yourself from yourself. So what I want you to do this week is I want you to apologize to your body. I want you to stand in the mirror naked, coming out of the shower or the bath. I want you to apologize. I am sorry for all the hateful things, cruel things I have said to you, and I will do better in the future.
So good. That is awesome. Thank you, Melissa. All right, we want you to check out our Friendzy YouTube channel with videos and extended interviews. Just head over to YouTube and search the Friendzy podcast. We'll pop up right there.
That's right. And I'm telling you, if you will watch the videos and you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel, then we can have our own customized web. It could be YouTube / the Friendzy.
Our vanity link.
Yes, but the thing is with YouTube, they don't give that to you until you have more subscribers. So hint, hint, go ahead and subscribe to us so that you don't miss a video. Plus, we want you to follow us on the socials. The Friendzy, it's friend with a ZY. Follow us on Instagram, and you can follow us on Facebook as well.
That's right. And please sign up for our weekly email. We are going to send the episode right to your inbox. We include links to things that we talk about, give you some deeper insights to things. You can sign up today at sign up today at thefriendzy.com. What did I say? Did I say sign up?
Is it easy for you to say you got your Invisalign in? We talked about that last week.
I'm failing still.
Thanks to listeners who subscribe to our email list at thefriendzy.com or friendzy.com if you're Jenn with her Invisalign. I'm not, you know what, and that's not fair because if you are somebody who legitimately has a lisp, I'm not making fun of you, I promise. 3 new names, Cheryl Beach, Audrey Lipscomb, and Karen Bove. We thank you so much, and they don't know that we're saying their names. We just pay attention.
And remember, the Friendzy now has a private Facebook group. It's a safe community where we can celebrate friendships over 40 and make some new friends. So make sure you sign up for the email list because that is the only way to get the invite.
That's right. The Friendzy, hosted and produced by Melissa Carter and Jenn Hobby.
And sound editing by Bo Johnson.
Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Mark Daniels.
The Friendzy celebrates friendships over 40. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. We love your friendship.
Until next week, I want you to trust your gut,
share your story, and
stop lying about your age. You're beautiful as you are.
Put it back on that resume, Melissa Carter.
I know. I'm glad you pointed that out. I violated my own rule.
See you next week.